Welcome to Security Spotlight. And just to make things a little clearer, I know most of you had to bear through quite a bit of security controls before you came into this building. Not really sure about the efficacy of that security controls, but just wanted to make sure you all know that Google actually does more than physical security. We also do digital security, and that's what this talk is about. Okay? So we have an action-packed show today. We'll be doing live demos of various products, a bunch of speakers, including one special customer partner who's been a pioneer of cybersecurity globally. So Google Cloud, one of the things that we've always been proud of was to actually keep raising the bar, especially when you're like number 3. Obviously, we have to get close to differentiating ourselves over a period of time. Now, hopefully at the conference today, you've actually seen that we are a power to reckon with globally, but we wanted to sort of make sure that we're keeping to raise the bar continuously over a period of time in every pillar of our Google Cloud strategy, including security. And being humble and hungry to sort of look beyond the classical shared responsibility model that cloud is always known for into a world of shared fate, where we put real skin in the game. And the way we manifested that, at least in security, was using 3 primary strategies. Obviously, frontline intel and expertise, where we are there for you before, during, and after an incident. We've got, obviously, a trusted cloud platform, which goes beyond secure by design and default to genuinely take a risk-first approach to cloud computing. And then last but not least, and this is something that we've sort of, I would say, had to push the system internally inside Google, is to actually think beyond just providing security on top of GCP, but to bottle up that IP that protects Alphabet, protects YouTube, protects ads, protects Chrome, and make it available to customers wherever they are in the form of modern security operations, whether it be Chronicle, whether it be Mandiant products, whether it be reCAPTCHA, fraud management, and so forth, so that you can actually consume these Google services on any other cloud or your own on-premises environment. And of course, since we haven't talked about AI at this conference, we thought we'll add some slides on AI for security. But this is where we'll actually spend a lot of time showing what we're actually announcing, releasing mainstream around security products today. Okay? So before I get into many of the product details and some of the capabilities that we're running and gunning with over the last few years, and excited to launch this week and beyond, we want to start with, just taking stock of the latest threat landscape. And who better to do this than probably the person who wrote the book on cybersecurity, my good friend, Kevin Mandia. Please welcome Kevin on stage.
Sunil, thank you. Got it. I think it's still morning, but Sunil had his hair done for the last 3 hours, so I lost track of time. I appreciate all of you making the time to be here. I've got about 6 minutes, and sometimes I'm referred to as the fear, uncertainty, and doubt guy, so I'm going to try to not instill fear, uncertainty, and doubt and just get right to some statistics. Last year, Mandia was on the front lines responding to approximately 1,200 security breaches, and these are the breaches that are at a scale and scope where customers need help. They need us to go in and augment their staff to figure out really what happened, the forensics, and then the what to do about it. In addition to doing approximately 1,200 investigations, we have 400 threat analysts in Mandiant's intelligence group. It's a global group. They speak over 30 languages in 26 different countries, and we try to be in all the hot zones. We want to be in South Korea to see what North Korea is doing on offense. We want to be in Israel, and you're going to hear from them later today, to see what Iran's doing on offense. In the United States, you see the best cyber espionage capabilities out of China and out of Russia. We want to be in Kyiv, and we've been in the Ukraine since 2011, so we could see a lot of what happens in the battlefield ahead of time, and we can prepare for the next modern conflict should there ever be one. So we have the threat analysts from Mandiant, we have the incident response, we have the threat analyst group from Google, we have Team Zero from Google, and we take all this and we come together. What did we learn in the last 12 months? Very quickly, I looked at 2022 It was the first year in my career, and we've been tracking these statistics since 1998. One of the things we learned was that from about 2003 to 2019, the way folks were breaking in was spear phishing. Prior to that, it was actually exploitation of servers. Then it went to spear phishing and what I call client-side attacks, hack the client and break in that way. And then it's back to vulnerabilities again. Exploitation of vulnerabilities took the front row in 2020, and it's still there today. So that's the threat change there. Second, it was the first year in my career that the best cyber offense came out of China. The most innovation in offensive exploitation to hit edge devices came out of China. Third, 0 days are on the rise, big time, meaning attacks that are going to work against an application, there is no available patch. We usually saw between 8 to 15 0 days a year between 1998 and 2019. And suddenly we saw 32 in 19, 30 0 days used in the wild in 2020, 81 0 days used in the wild in 2021, and 55 last year. And then this year, we're actually ahead of that schedule. So we're going to see a lot more 0 days. What that means is all of us need to be more prepared for what I call the apex attacker, the person that is deploying 0 days. They're not slamming it against everybody on the planet. They're very precise going after defense industrial base or going after specific targets. And we're going to use our tools and our capabilities at Google to make sure that all of you can be better prepared for these apex attackers as well. So neat thing before I move on to the next slide and how AI is going to help game shift or shift change every way we're doing security is that security software is about the only software I'm aware of that has an adversary to it. Somebody that's actively working every day to be surreptitious, evade detection, and evade the efficacy of what we're building, which means you have to have a learning cycle. You have to have software that thinks and learns, whether from people and refined from the frontline experiences we have, or from AI and learning what's normal on your network, instantiating normal, and then instantiating what's abnormal. And so you'll hear more from Sunil today on our product roadmaps and how we're going to use AI to help make all of our networks, you can keep the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your data the way you want. The other thing I want to talk about is toil, and I lived this firsthand. My first job ever was at the Pentagon as an Air Force officer, where I'd go into a skiff and I'd sit there and hit page down pretty much for the first 3 hours looking at log files. And I'm not making that up, that was really my job. I'd have my plate of eggs right here, I'd eat a little bit, and then page down, page down, page down, looking for who was accessing what, was there any anomalies. That was state-of-the-art in 1993. I've lived through 30 years of improvements, but all security analysts today are being inundated with alerts made by engineers and software developers that don't think security first, they think the function of their software first. And they create log files that are arbitrary to whatever the engineer wants to have in those log files, generating alerts and generating messages that sometimes require us to decipher those. Lots of noise, lots of experience required to figure out what you need to defend. So you're going to hear Sunil talk about how we're creating tools on top of Chronicle that come embedded in the software to just reduce the toil of all your frontline security operators. And then something that's very important is, you know, there's a lot of esoteric knowledge in cybersecurity, and we want to be able to advance people faster in it. So Google went public with having a cybersecurity certificate and working with Coursera to make sure folks can sign up and get educated because we have a shortage of expertise. But I also look at the software we're making, and as Sunil unfolds the roadmap, you're going to see a demo by Steph today where you can see that we can train people using the AI capabilities as well. So that when folks are inside of our software looking at and triaging alerts, it's almost like having what we called in the Air Force a heads-up display, where you get to see, here's what we know about that IP address, here's what we know about that file, here's what we know about that Yara rule, here's what we know about the threat group that's behind it. And when those things sort of pop up and augment your staff, it's going to slowly but surely train your staff to get better at cybersecurity. And that's something that we've needed for a long time. So with that, I appreciate you being here, and I'll welcome Sunil back on stage to go through our new advancements. Sunil.
Thank you, sir. If you've met Kevin, obviously he's a fount of knowledge, but also interesting stories. He does still eat some eggs while he's still doing some meetings. Doesn't do page downs anymore, but in this stage, I was just thinking about it when he was talking about his background, that we probably have two of the world's most seasoned sort of combos of folks who understand how the threat actor works and how to defend. And hopefully you'll meet the second person shortly, and obviously we'll be around. And if you folks want to hang out after this, it would be great to exchange some notes. So what Kevin talked about obviously was, essentially we've doubled down on synergizing Mandiant within Google Cloud. We've taken VirusTotal, Mandiant Threat Intel, Google Tag, safe browsing from Chrome, and a few more Intel sources from Project Zero and beyond, and fuse them into one threat intel platform that you'll hear more about shortly, including in some of the deeper sessions. And that threat intel capabilities are obviously empowering our frontline, both Mandiant folks as well as our strategic partners that we'll talk about, but also enriching and enhancing the context of security operations, both on GCP as well as Chronicle. Now, before we get into some of the broader capabilities around security operations, just to give you folks an idea of what we've done so far in terms of raising the bar on Google Cloud security itself. People talk about the roadmap. I know Kevin showed this slide at the keynote. It was probably the only one that actually got some applause. But basically, this is a thing that we normally don't talk about. But it's true, is that when you look at vulnerabilities, we are dramatically lower than the other clouds in reality, especially the blue cloud that rhymes with failure, okay? So hopefully, there's some reality behind this, at least from a cybersecurity perspective. And the way that we've really sort of internalized this in the roadmap, and look, we're still far from being done, is around this risk-first approach. And starting from simple things such as actually doing deep integrated vulnerability management in Security Command Center for all your compute engine workloads, to actually integrating in real-time threat detection, not just log-scale threat detection, but real-time threat detection, so that you can put some real skin in the game. This is a good example of Shared Fate, where we announced this crypto mining guarantee, where we're so confident in detecting Bitcoin mining within our own compute workloads, because it exists for all of our Alphabet properties too. We've had great success at packaging this now to protect our customers wherever they are on GCP. Of course, you can't obviously cover the scope of the cloud platform without actually talking about the network, and this is where, with some deep partnerships with Palo Alto Networks, to actually raise the bar beyond just detection to actually prevention with next-generation firewalls, but also providing an open ecosystem so that customers and partners can bring their best-in-class network services to plug into our quote-unquote network value chain, okay? And of course, from the network, there's the data element. In data, you've always heard us be in the forefront of confidential computing. It's still an early stage in the market, as you all know. Lots of promise. Some very focused use cases, such as, for example, with very large customers using ads or cookie protection and so forth, you need a level of confidential computing platform, high-frequency trading algorithms being protected and so forth. But with the advent of TDX now mainstream and going GA next year, we expect this to become more mainstream, just like shielded VMs was. I think it's at like 80% attached to compute VMs right now, right? And of course, it's just not on the computing side, it's also on the data side, where a year ago, one of the things we did, and I don't know how obvious this is to all of you, was DLP in clouds was always something that you would set up as a separate control, right? We took the approach to actually burn in DLP inside the core workflow when you actually set up BigQuery, so that when you actually spin up a BigQuery instance, set up tables and so forth, you have the option to actually, quote-unquote, have data protected by default, just like encryption by default. And we are now enhancing that same capability across our data portfolio into Data Lake, into the database portfolio, and so forth. And you'll see more of this, invisible security construct that we've always talked about, where many of these controls are actually burned into your core workflows without being a control on top. And then last but not least, during COVID, we used to have these 7 a.m. Monday calls between Thomas and a whole bunch of folks where when sovereignty was such a big thing in 2020, 2021. And it was one of those moments where we recognized that whatever we do about global sovereignty will help US companies, global companies, whether they're based in the US or our governments worldwide. And we were clearly ahead of any other cloud provider in actually creating a variety of sovereignty constructs, from data sovereignty to operational sovereignty to actually true software sovereignty in a more comprehensive sovereignty approach. And we manifested it in the form of assured workloads for the public government, for enterprises, global companies. And we have started expanding this across all of our regions. And the latest thing is that we are now in Japan with the version of assured workloads as well. Okay? So just to net it all out, clearly, the thing that you should expect more from us is to think about getting more of the Mandiant signals, the expertise, plugged into this risk-first approach that's way comprehensive beyond just posture management or threat management across the full stack of GCP, but doing it in a way so that it's actually integrated into the overall policy structure rather than being an overlay. And so when you now look at, okay, so that was the capabilities around trusted GCP. The area that we've been really successful with, aside from enhancing GCP controls, is about bottling this Google IP to meet customers where you are. And when you think about this, in the last 18 months, this is probably the fastest growing solution within Google Cloud, period. And it comes in the combination of taking our best-in-class Chronicle, I'll just call it next generation security operations solution, infusing it with proactive capabilities that we got from Mandiant's products, such as validation, where you can do real-time red teaming and integrate that signal into your detection response workflows, but then complement the entire thing with the expertise from the threat intel that we get from the frontline. And this includes capabilities from our partners as well as from our frontline defenders, so that we can not just approach this as just replacing, let's say, another vendor who rhymes with gunk, but going beyond that to actually provide not just a security operations platform, but a proactive cyber defense solution. And so Chronicle Security Operations Platform, which is the foundation for much of this, has some unique characteristics that was very similar to what made Google search so unique. So for example, and this is stuff that you will see more and more published because we've been quite quiet about some of our core differentiators, is that the core platform matters here both from an efficacy side and an efficiency side. We have 20x faster searches. We've got 4x more data retention capability out of the box. Okay, by default, we don't even allow customers to have less than a year's worth of retention, by the way, right? That's just good hygiene. As well as the kind of content that comes out of the system has been dramatically differentiated as compared to the state of the art. And so this combination of everything is now the underpinning of a major new solution offering that we've come out with to not just power global enterprises, but also global nations in the form of something that we talked about in the keynote as Cyber Shield. And again, rather than me talk about this, it's my great honor and privilege to introduce, I'd say, the co-founder of Cyber Shield. He's been in the Israeli cyber defense for many years, doing what Kevin was doing on the US side. And again, someone who's been both on the front line protecting proactively as well as reactively the nation-state borders, but also been a great partner for peer state nations in the Abraham Accord and beyond. The Director General of the Israeli National Cyber Directorate and a great friend of Google, Gabby Portnoy. Gabby, come on up.
Thank you very, very much. So good morning, everybody. It's a great honor to be here in this excellent Google conference. So since I was a child, riding my own broom horse around the house, I learned a long-lasting truth. The knight with the strongest shield will win the battle and will win the throne. And it wasn't only about how shining the shield was, it had to be strong too, to protect the center of heart, to protect the center of mass and heart from my brother's broom. So I want to start with a thank you. Thank you, Google, for making a child's dream come true, for making all of us the cyber knights of the modern era, and for a new, strong, and shining cyber shield. But this time, it's an on-cloud platform that will be the next generation of the national-level security solutions and technologies, and will build a better sectorial and national immunity. In the INCD, making Israel defense stronger is our mission. And I say all the time and emphasize, it's not about the INCD. It's a joint national and international effort. It's a joint effort between the government, between the security organizations, between the private industry like Google, and of course, our partners overseas. Another concept we are focused on is digital trust. I want to run with the technology and not after the technology. I want to enable the digital trust and the digital transformation, but I want to do it with Google in the right way. A secure and reliable cyberspace in Israel is our purpose to the journey we are doing to the Google Cloud. We call it the Nimbus Project. As the cyber knights, this is our central mass and heart we need to protect. And if we think about it, we are all facing the same cyber challenges. The ever-growing attack surface being pushed by new technologies that Google all the time bring to the table, and the growing motivation of our attackers. Facing these challenges, what I'm saying all the time, we need to keep working together, to plan and think together, and prepare for them, I think in the right way, together. And what I'm telling all the time, the INCD is willing to share. We are willing to share our strategies, designs, technologies, beliefs, best practices, and even our dreams. And I have to admit, we are doing it happily because I really believe in us working together. And it's all about building partnerships and changing the culture of trust. The more we will talk the same cyber language, we will do a better, secure in the Israeli nation, but this is our case, I think, all over. And as you know, the bits don't have any borders. So regarding to Cyber Shield, the more we will spread the concept of Cyber Shield, cooperate, investigate, share knowledge, and communicate on one global platform, I think we will secure the world a lot better. Another challenge, it's values. Many core values challenge us when collaboration and teamwork are put on the table. Confidentiality, privacy, leaders' agenda, culture, network thinking, and even self-value. When I look at these fears and considerations, why not to collaborate and share, I remind myself all the time, there is no other way today, just together. The trust we need to develop, the culture we need to change, this is our responsibility as cyber leaders. We need to show our people the way. We need to show them we trust each other and trust them for trusting others. The Cyber Shield project is a part of our Cyber Dome. a concept to reduce the harm of cyber attacks at scale. The DOM, for us, it's a new big data AI overall approach for proactive defense. And of course, the Cyber Shield is a big part of our DOM, a SaaS solution based on the Google Cloud, unified cross-sector platforms, contain AI algorithms, automation, and a lot more. This solution, I'm sure, that will help us to defend our essential organizations and, of course, our services as knights, central mass, and sensitive organs, and will provide us the ability to detect APTs and do a better threat intelligence, I hope, with Mandiant that you saw before. In our business, in the cybersecurity business, we need to run fast. And as I said before, if we want to run faster, and we must run faster, we must do it, again, together. And it's not about buying 2 kilograms of Google for $2 million. It's not a product. We are building here a strategic partnership that I can say already took us to places we haven't been before in a very short time. So I want to thank Google for this unique partnership. And although you are a mega company, I think you move fast and intimate like a startup. The creativity, the thinking out of the box, it's amazing. So, Sunil, you are backstage, but I want to say thank you for your leadership. Also to Dom, Eric, Enrico, Kini, you are, for me, a dream team. Of course, the Israeli team, Boaz, Genia, Ophir, Shai, and Alon, some of them are here. You become our best partners, so thank you very much. And finally, I say that by the power vested in us, as the ones leading this project, we knight each other as the cyber knights of the Cyber Shield. And we ride away carrying our cyber mission to fulfill, together, faster, and with trust in our heart. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. That was good. You know, Gabby obviously has a huge responsibility on his shoulders, but hopefully, as some of you will get to know him, he's definitely a very capable person in a very serious business, but he himself is very human and not so serious. So if you find him hanging around with a bunch of folks, he's very accessible and a great partner to work with. And we fully expect Cyber Shield to be one of those that's not just available for global nations, as hopefully you'll see further announcements across the world, but also in percolating this best-in-class solution for our enterprises globally as well. And that's one way that we are manifesting that is in this net new service that we talked about yesterday, where it's sort of like the OnStar button for your Google Cloud platform or your security services, which is within the context of your security operations, your SOC and so forth, you're able to double-click and call a Mandiant threat hunting expert on demand who's already empowered with all the data around your environment, can do the deep threat hunting on your behalf, and provide you the signals back from a detection and remediation perspective in the context of your environment. And you should expect to see more of these capabilities in conjunctions with our partners as well to scale across our entire portfolio. So clearly, obviously, no presentation at Next is complete without AI. And to really get into the heart of AI, before we get into the products and the capabilities, I wanted to just take a few minutes to talk about the why and the what of how we are approaching AI in cybersecurity. And this is important because this is similarly constructed across various services, but especially so in cyber. So if you folks remember the last time we had a game-changing, sort of secular change like Gen AI was probably mobile, more so than cloud. And mobile was the last time where we had a change that affected billions of people, not just the enterprises. And the first instantiation of mobile was what? Okay, you had this iPhone that came out, an awesome combination of a browser, phone, email, and you could actually do, cool stuff with it, mostly take pictures at some point in time. But most of your productivity was through a browser, where pretty much every site out there had to be reformatted to do a browser. And the equivalent of that is like a chatbot for Gen AI. Like everybody's doing a chatbot, and it's useful, and we still use the browser on the phone. But the real power of mobile was never really, internalized until you fundamentally built a mobile app ecosystem. You built an app that you could swipe left, right, use the camera, use the GPS device, and so forth. And that's what I call infused, by the way, versus an AI overlay. And if you really peel open all of the Gen AI products and the strategy per se, and this is at various levels within the product portfolio, but at least in cyber, I'll tell you that for sure we have to do an augmentative conversational assistant in each of our workflows, which Steph will show you shortly. But what we're also doing is to look at each and every portion of our workflows. For example, in Chronicle with security operations, log parsing should be enhanced. Curated detection should be enhanced. Playbook should be enhanced. Every aspect of your workflow should be enhanced with Gen AI, in our opinion. And that's hopefully what you'll see through some of our product portfolio capabilities. But ultimately, our goal is to ensure that maybe at some point in time, we may not even have a chatbot, so that do it is quote-unquote invisible within cybersecurity operations. So the way we have looked at, by the way, the overarching challenges ahead of us, you heard this, so I won't spend too much time on this, and you'll get a lot more details around how we are breaking it down across threats, toil, and talent. But I'll give you a simple aha mission around each of them that we've been working on. In toil, which, by the way, plagues many of the folks in this audience and beyond, or in your teams, we want to make security fun. And one of the ways is to just reduce the amount of churn that one has to do in some of the tools that we have out there. And so the core aha there is, look, if you can generate code, you should be able to generate the security controls associated with it. You should be able to generate the compliance controls associated with it. Eventually, that's ultimately how systems will secure themselves. And so that's our true north for how we are approaching Gen AI in security. And the way we are delivering it is in this three-step or three-stack manner. The first part, and the lowest layer, is the part that you'll hear a lot more about in the upcoming quarters, is beyond, obviously, the governance and compliance controls to keep Vertex AI safe, et cetera, which we've already been in play. We are investing heavily and significantly to actually protect the AI supply chain. So think about it as what we did for Salsa, for a software supply chain. You should look forward to an equivalent update for the AI supply chain, driven by best practices, but also as product capabilities. Now, on top of that, obviously, you've heard us talk about the AI workbench. This is probably the only product capability within GCP that has a domain-specific LLM. We've talked about MedPalm, but SecPalm 2 is essentially, the manifestation that we've gotten through training the core LLM from Google on a lot of security data, virus total data, Mandiant threat intel, and so forth. And then on top of that is how we delivered first-party products as well as third-party products, right? And before I talk about a lot of our first-party products, the AI workbench is now being adopted rapidly by a variety of partners that we will showcase, where the spirit is to not just leverage first-party intel, but to leverage third-party best practices in a collaborative virtuous cycle so that ultimately the overall quality of the cyber-related applications that are built on top are actually less hallucination, more quality, and more efficacy. And frankly, even in the last 3-4 months of collaborating with a handful of partners, we've made great strides because Google alone cannot actually create the level of quality that we need for the cyber side, okay? So then to talk more about these first-party apps and to sort of show you what exactly is being done within each product across the portfolio. Let me welcome our wonderful Steph back on stage. Steph.
Hey, thanks, Sunil. Hi, folks. As Sunil said, we're infusing generative AI in multiple security products I'll show you today with the aim to mitigate threats, reduce toil, and bridge the cyber talent gap. And specifically, I'm going to show you 3 ways Duet AI helps customers improve their security posture. 1, by generating AI summaries to describe threats. 2, by searching for patterns in your security data to determine if you've been affected. And 3, by recommending actions to take, both in response to alerts, but also to proactively help improve security by closing down attack paths. So, in this scenario, let's say I'm onboarding as the newest member of our security team. I want to see the latest threat activity impacting my industry, so I'm going to go ahead and check out Mandiant Threat Intelligence here. Now, here in the top left, I see that there's some recent activity from a threat group called APT43, so I want to learn more about that. I'm going to go ahead and search. Now, before, I'd have to go through 11,572 search results here. That's one more than yesterday. A lot of activity here, and figure out which of these reports or objects are related to my mission, decide which core takeaways are relevant to my company. But now, I see that Duet has automatically generated a summary on this threat actor from their vast corpus of frontline intelligence. Also, this model is grounded, which helps reduce LLM hallucinations and means I have accurate summaries, which is particularly helpful for any reporting I may need to do for my SecOps colleagues or CISO. So this is how I begin to learn their tactics, such as fraudulently mining cryptocurrency to fund illicit operations, which is bad stuff I want to prevent. So here, in short, Duet AI in Mandiant provides me a boost in my threat understanding so I can better protect and inform my organization. And that's not all. I could also check out 2 more innovations in threat intelligence, both available now in VirusTotal. The first, Duet AI in VirusTotal, is my very own malware analyst that analyzes and describes suspicious scripts for me to help me determine whether they're malicious or benign without me needing to reverse engineer them. So Duet here understands more than 100 file types and programming languages, including Lua, Ruby, and VBA, which I can take full advantage of to inspect any code for its properties. And this helps me to mitigate threats sooner and improve my general code hygiene, which strengthens our security posture. The second is a new forum in VirusTotal dedicated to the global community of AI ML security experts to flag, explain, and contextualize different types of malicious software. This forum enables me to contribute what I'm learning and leverage the wisdom of fellow security practitioners to advance our collective understanding of the threat landscape. Together, all these capabilities help me more quickly identify and respond to threats, which brings me back to my scenario. So, given the intel I just learned here, I'm going to go ahead and I've decided I'm going to go ahead and search our event data in Chronicle to see if we have any evidence of crypto mining attack in Google Cloud last week. I'm going to go ahead and generate that query. Now, normally, I'd have to conduct this search, I'd have to type a specific syntax. It works with Chronicle's unique data model here, and practice patience, because frankly, since queries can be large and challenging to create, and remember, it's my first day. But now, as you see, Duet has automatically translated my natural language input into the query so that I can go ahead and run that search here, which is now analyzing petabytes of data for patterns at a speed I didn't get from the SIM my old team used. And, if needed, I can edit the query in line and update in real time. Now, I see there's an alert here, a related alert from that search that we've got an existing crypto mining case here. So here's the affected entity and some of the information about it, but I'm going to go ahead and check out the alert on this. Now, here again, normally to understand what's going on in this particular case, I'd scroll through all this super important metadata, maybe check out the playbooks, figure out what the finding information here is. I need some tenured understanding to really make sense of this. But now, I can go ahead on the overview and see that Duet AI has summarized this for me front and center on the overview, has simplified this entirely for me. So I can see now all of the information about this investigation summarized, including what's happened, what's being affected, and even recommending next steps for me to take. So in short, Duet has translated my search queries, summarized information about the threat, and prioritized an event to focus on, which is saving me from having to deal with thousands of alerts. And more efficient search and case summaries have reduced my toil in going from detection to response when every second counts, just as Sunil was saying. So these capabilities are currently in preview, and there's more coming this year. Soon, I'll be able to interact with Duet conversationally wherever I am in Chronicle. In this new chat experience, Duet will assist me in my investigations by summarizing more advanced security events, answering my questions on any alert, case, event, and converting my inputs into YARA-L rules so I don't have to be an expert on that language to write new detections. And since Duet is context-aware and connected to VirusTotal and Mandiant, I get the latest guidance on threats and techniques. This is pretty cool. Plus, Duet will soon provide me with a simple and intuitive experience to generate playbooks, which are how I automate my response workflow. And this guidance can be critical to me as a new member of the team to take advantage of the expertise already in my organization and the Chronicle platform itself. But it's also great for my more tenured colleagues so they can focus on the more complex challenges as new and novel threats appear and require new playbooks to respond. So these are the kinds of capabilities that can help reduce the toil of having to detect and investigate and respond across my growing attack surface, all in one integrated platform assisted by Duet AI. So speaking of responding, I got to get back to my case here. That's what I'm going to do. Back here, I saw we've got a couple links where I can pivot quickly to check out. I'm going to check out the potential attack paths in just a second. I'm going to check out more on this finding in Security Command Center. Now, typically, in coming here, I'd need to have tenured knowledge, again, to understand what all this super important metadata means. I might even want to check the JSON here to review the details. But now, Duet summarizes this finding for me automatically, including why it's an issue and what I can do about it. And seeing the criticality, implications, and next steps here to remediate is pretty crucial for me to action this finding swiftly and for my team. But I also want to see if we're vulnerable to attack through other potential paths, so including related to this affected resource here. So I'm going to go ahead and check out that. And here's the affected resource, here's the attack exposure for that, here's that resource, which again, I could investigate this map here node by node. Each has vital info after all here, understand what they mean, determine what to proactively address, how and why. But now I hit AI summary and Duet summarizes this attack path for me, including what could actually be exploited and how to remediate the vulnerability, in this case, rotating a service account key, locking down a couple over-permissioned accounts. So these summaries enable me, a newbie, to work like my experienced teammates and even be able to take action to improve our security posture, in this case, shutting down the exploit right away. And even though I've gotten to the bottom of this particular exploit, I wonder what else I could do to strengthen my security posture. Well, this year, I'll be able to use Duet AI in Identity and Access Management, IAM, to get access recommendations that help prevent data exfiltration and generally reduce risky behavior. So here, we see Duet has detected access grants that permit lateral movement, which is a tactic bad actors might use to gain access, similar to what happened with Log4j. Definitely want to prevent that. That's why Duet will highlight overly permissive roles I can adjust to bring us into a state of least privilege. It's the kind of insight I need to close potential attack paths before they can be exploited. And given all these powerful new capabilities, I may want to move more of my workloads to Google Cloud, of course. However, translating my security policies from other clouds can be a super grueling process. So later this year, though, I'll be able to upload a file or script containing my source policies, compare policies side by side, and then download a Terraform script to apply those policies to my Google Cloud project. This means complex policies will no longer take weeks to translate, even with a super specialized understanding of ontologies across clouds, just to appropriately secure workloads. So in short, thanks to Duet AI, I can contribute more value sooner as I onboard to my team, and that's a major boost to my colleagues, a setback for the bad actors too, which are both things I can feel proud of. And end scenario. Now, what I hope you're taking from today's demo is that Duet AI is a key aspect in how we're supercharging security, and we're all in here to channel these capabilities to help with security's toughest challenges, stopping or mitigating downstream impacts from the growth of threats, reducing the toil of detecting and responding across an expanding attack surface, and bending the curve on the cyber talent gap so IT teams can fortify their organizations more effectively and security specialists can focus on the most complex challenges. Finally, all of these innovations are leveraging the SecPalm 2 model, which we will make available through Security AI Workbench, and is my cue to turn it back to you, Sunil.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you very much. So obviously lots of things there, and once again, we have exceeded expectations because we're out of time. So I'm going to jam through the rest of the stuff quickly, and there's various sessions here where we'll double-click into each of the capabilities on this particular stack. But one thing that I wanted to talk about was remember the AI Workbench platform was launched with Accenture as a strategic partner, contributing a lot of threat intel into it. But over the last few months, we've had lots of partners in a very intentional way engage with us. And if some of you are in the room, I really want to thank you all to enhance the quality of it, has materially improved. And this is a subset of a broader ecosystem of partners that is making, obviously, GCP a lot more safer than what we could do on our own. Now, the thing that, just to summarize what we have talked about today, right? So clearly, the velocity around cloud security is not slowed down. If anything, it's accelerating and picking up again across the board. Mandiant and Google Cloud have really doubled down to synergize to create a 1 + 1 = 3 environment for within the people as well as for our solutions out there across all of these pillars that we talked about. And each of these pillars, plus obviously Duet AI and each of the security capabilities, have a lot of details in a variety of sessions later today that I'd encourage some of you to attend. But as Gabby mentioned and Kevin mentioned, look, we're still humble and hungry. We're still open for input. If anything, now that we have some success behind us on some great solutions and platforms, we're really looking forward to working with you all, both from a partnership perspective as well as from a customer engagement perspective, so that maybe next year at this time, we'll have many of you as well participating to talk about your success stories. So thanks again for taking the time, and hope you have a rest of next, okay?